Heat distortion, the shimmer over hot asphalt above an exhaust plume off a jet engine. Most artists fake it with a plug-in or hand roll, a noise patterning comp, and hope it sells. There's a better way, and once you understand that's actually happening, you'll use this trick for a lot more than just heat. My name is Bryan. I have several years in the VFX industry, and my most watched video on this channel is a tutorial on doing heat distortion in After Effects. This is the spiritual successor, the version I'd ship today on a real shot, with everything I've learned since. The move, though, is driving distortion in Nuke or After Effects using a 2D vector field rendered, in this case, Houdini. We'll use a Houdini particle sim, which sounds heavy, but it really isn't. First, the concept. If you skip this part, you'll never adapt the technique to anything else. An image stores red, green, and blue, each from 0 to 1. Remap red and green from 0 to 1 to -1 to 1, and you've got something different. You've got direction. Red is your X displacement, green is your Y displacement. Every pixel is now telling the comp where to push pixels in the underlying plate. And that's your 2D vector field. Same idea behind normal maps, ST maps, and motion vectors. Once you see it everywhere. Here's a HIP file that will be offered in the description below for this project, along with the Nuke script. As you can see, I have a simple campfire scene I have built here. Nothing too special, just fire and some embers. And we're just going to add some heat distortion to this and throw it in comp. I really quickly put this together for you, but if you're interested in a more cinematic FX fire shot, definitely let me know in the comments below. Also, I have set up the stage context down here. It's set up so that you can render this really quickly for about 72 frames. In fact, I actually only did frame 12 to 72, but I've set this up so that you can do your own version as you continue to practice the technique that we're going to show you in this video. I'm providing the render images to use for comp for yourself as well, though, so be sure to check those out, and you could jump into Nuke right away. So to get started, let's just stay here in the heat distortion stop, and let's get started with this heat distortion technique. I have this tube. I have a point from volume. Let me actually get rid of the preview here. On this attribute wrangle, we are just adding velocity here going up, and this is actually what we want. I want a little bit of a different variation here with the attribute noise vector. We're going to play with some of these settings here. We'll maybe increase the amplitude, reduce the element size, and offset a little bit. And on the animation, I want it to be a little bit faster. Now, the amount of distortion that we're going to create is really decided by how hot the fire is. Now, it's a typical campfire. It's not very hot, so don't worry too much about it. Just copy these over. So we can start our heat distortion tree. We're just going to drop a pop net at this point, just like we did for the embers. I'll throw that in the first input. Now, what's really important is we also grab the velocity field from our pyro solver. So we're going to add that into the second input, and let's dive in. And let me reset the camera. We're using the first context geometry by default. Come over here to birth. By default, it's set to impulse. That's fine for right now. Don't really care about life expectancy. Also, don't add any gravity here. We want the heat rising, and this is what we got. Not a whole lot yet. We still need to add a little bit of variation and some turbulence to this. One thing I like to do is do a pop advect by volumes, and I don't want this as aggressive as my embers, but let's go ahead and add the second context geometry, grab the velocity field. I'm going to lower that velocity scale all the way down to 0.1, keep it as update force, and we'll do trace RK3. And as you can see, the air resistance is quite high, so let's actually lower that down. So a little bit of change on the velocity here, but not too much. Where we'll add a lot of change is going to be in a pop wind node. The settings I landed with, I added 1 on the y-axis. I added a wind speed of about 2. Air resistance, I went to about 2. You can probably go up to about 0.3 here. Don't go too high on this one. If I type in 1, you'll see that it gets too crazy. So we'll say about maybe 0.2. Another thing you could do here is under the air resist is add in a little bit of randomization with a simple expression. Air resist times equals rand at ID plus, let's say, 7. Now, we don't want 0 air resist at all, so what will actually help us if you fit this, we'll say fit 0 to 1, and we'll say 0.3 to 0.9. Maybe increase the amplitude. Keep the swirl size small for this one. We really just want these little swirls happening. But come on up here to the pop source and go to add, and you can see I was playing with that. I turned off the variance on 0 for X and 0 for Z, but I added 2 on the variance for Y. And this should add just a little bit more variance for us. Now, keep in mind, we're going to have to offset this whole timeline because if you look at frame 12, which is our first frame, the heat distortion isn't very high. We need it up here in the camera view. So we're just going to cache out way further into the future, and then we will time shift this after the fact. But I think this looks good. One of the issues that we do have is we have these little particles that are flying off into the distance over here. They may posit a problem for us, but if it does, we'll come back and tweak that. Let's go ahead now and drop a cache node here. And I'm going to cache to about 150 frames. So we'll say 150 here, and we will come back after the fact. And as you can see, we actually have quite a bit of heat distortion here. I kind of like frame 44, maybe even 60. So just drop a time shift at this point. And we'll say $F plus 60. And now this is what we have. Not too bad. Now we have a lot of attributes here that we actually don't need. We should have deleted them up here. But the important ones are age and velocity. ID is important as well because we're going to use that right now to color. So let's go ahead and drop an attribute VOP. And I like coloring in a VOP because it gives me a little bit more artistic control. So we'll call that CD. Let's dive in, and we're going to drop a parameter here. Keep it on color. We're going to call this heat distortion. Now, it's not doing anything for us yet because I haven't attached it to anything, but what we could do is set this to green here or red, either one. And then on the other side, I want to set this to green. Let's go ahead and dive in now, and it's going to create our random off of our ID. Throw this random into the input, and now we can take this into the CD. You'll see we run into a slight problem here where green starts to take over a little bit, and that's because on the spectrum, if you look, green has a more dominant presence on a 50-50 split. So to fix this, I just typically will just notch red over a little bit. All right, last thing we need to do here is we need to actually give this some P-scale. So navigate up here to your display materials on objects, right click, and go to lit spheres. And you'll see that they have a decent P-scale on them yet, but we have so many gaps here that's going to create a problem for us in Final Comp. So let's go ahead and come down here and go to an attribute noise float. Now this is going to run off of your position attribute, so they will actually change in P-scale over time, which will add even more noise to our heat distortion. To set this to set, and we're going to go to min max, and the lowest one I want is 0.1 and then 0.2, and you can see we're starting to close some of those gaps. You could probably go even higher to, let's say, 0.15 and maybe 0.25 here, and this is what we got. But let's go. The motion blur is going to really help, but you can see the particles aren't moving that fast here. That's totally okay. You can use that age attribute that we have up here. We'll just do an attribute wrangle and create our own normalized age. So we'll say f at norm age equals f at age divided by 1.5. So if I come over here and type in norm age on my geometry spreadsheet, you'll see that most of them are pretty uniform. We have very, very close together because of when they're being emitted. So I want to add a little bit of noise to this. So we'll say float rand equals rand at ID plus 9, another offset. F at norm age equals f at norm age plus f at norm age times rand. And you'll see now we have a bunch of variants here. And this will actually allow us to start to clip some of our particles earlier in their life. If f at norm age is greater than, or better yet, less than channel float thresh, remove point 0 at pt num. Let's go and promote that up. And now you can see I'm starting to get rid as I scan this up a little bit. And now I have my heat distortion starting a little bit later, about where we would expect it to be. Now all that's left is to render this. So let's go ahead now and cache this out. So I'm just going to cache all of these changes out. We'll call this heat distortion render. I'll save that to disk. I'll just save 80 frames since we're only doing 72 frames. And there we go. We'll do a null here. Heat distortion. Okay, let's go dive into our LopNet. Now, I could render out the same tree here, but there's really no reason to do that because we're going to be rendering a separate pass that we're just going to composite in post. But there's a few elements here that I do want. The first one that I do want is the camera. So we're going to just copy the camera over here and create our own tree. And then we also want our own karma render settings here. So we're just going to type in karma, setup. It's going to give us this nice ROP here. Let's go ahead and do a SOP import and bring in that heat distortion. So if we just go find the out heat distortion. The important thing to do here is to name this. So we'll say heat fx heat, and we'll throw this down here. Look at, make sure that camera 1 is coming in. Set pattern, and there we go, cam 1. We want to make sure that we have very well balanced light here. So I'm going to add in an environment light, but we're not going to add a texture to it. And we'll say 2, 1. That might be too bright. There we go. We'll call this heat distortion. We'll do the EXR version of this as well too. Make sure the frame numbers actually line up. So just hit this. Make sure that we're rendering at the right resolution. And we have to put the right camera in. The last thing I'm going to do is come over here to rendering, camera effects, and let's do velocity blur here. A little bit of velocity blur is going to help this out quite a bit. Make sure you bring in the velocity here. There we go. For render settings, nothing too crazy here. You could do XP or CPU. The only thing I might do here on top of my samples is come over here to rendering, image output, filters, and then just go to the Intel denoiser if you have it, and this should work just fine. It's the color pass that we actually will be using anyways, and this looks good. I'm just going to do specific frame range. Let's go ahead and delete these channels here, and we'll render 12 to 72, and then from here, we'll just go ahead and comp it in post. I have the rendered fire here. Nice little embers going up. I also threw in a little random backplate. I went to Pexels and downloaded this free image, so I'll send this to you guys as well too. I also rendered out the particles here, as we mentioned. I made one little change on how they're deleting at the top, but it's the same process as I did up here, except now I just delete when they're too old. One thing I don't like about the heat distortion is how much it's fanning out. I did mention this earlier in the video, but you guys can refine this. It really is all dependent, and the point of this video actually is the distortion part. So let's get to it. So this is the actual final comp right here with some color grades. And again, this is a very lazy comp where I just color graded the background from that image. Honestly, I did this in about 2 minutes. So when you open up this Nuke script, you're going to be kind of confused, and I don't want you guys to be confused. The focus is really here in these nodes. And this is a very quick and dirty method. So I bring in the heat distortion particles, and the first thing you need to do is a color lookup. So to kind of see what that is doing, if I come over here to red, my colors are mapped from 0 to 1. I've actually remapped them down to -1. So how do you do that? So let's drop a color lookup. And if you take a look here, there it is, red, 0 to 1. And so the easiest way to do that is just come down here on the red channel, and we just click. And then where it says X0 and Y0, click, and then just type in -1 on the Y. Do the same thing for the green. And I'm just left clicking. I'm also going to do the blue. This isn't as important, but it does help to do the blue. Just for visual sake. The secret sauce here is to actually copy this data over into your main pipe. So I'm doing that over here. If you take a look, this is what this looks like. Has a nice alpha on it. And then we just drop a copy node. So K for copy, A into whatever pipe you want. I'm going to do it into the checkerboard here so you guys can see it. And we'll say RGB red, RGB green, and then the last one's alpha. I don't care about the blue. It really is just red and green, as we saw earlier in the video. Red and green are being used for our UVs. If I come over here now and I can hit new, we can create our own channel. We'll call this demo distort period red. This is the naming convention in Nuke where it gives you the layer name, or the channel name rather, and then that channel RGBA. So we'll hit OK. Yes, it's going to create a new demo distort red, and then we do another new here. So make sure it's spelled correctly. We'll do distort green. And then the last one here is demo distort alpha. We drop an IDistort node down. The UV channel is going to be that demo distort, and you can see it already goes to work. If I increase this, there it is. Now, one of the issues you'll notice is the whole thing gets shifted, and that's because we need to mask it. And so the mask channel in this case is going to be that demo distort alpha. Another thing you can also throw into here is your blur channel. So if you come up here and go to demo distort alpha for the blur channel, we can actually blur out what's happening here. Here is the final look of what I ended up, and if I hit play, you'll see the heat distortion is working. My particle scale is probably a little too small. In hindsight 2020, I would go back and redo the particles with even more noise and even more variation, but the concept pretty much stays the same. This is what this looks like here in my shot. and you could see the heat distortion is now taking over the particles as well too, and it adds just this extra flare and look to our scene. And this is my final with color grading with a nice little heat distortion on top. I also would bring the particles to start a little bit earlier down here. They start a little late, but this adds that extra layer of integration into your shot. And this is a trick that you can use beyond just heat distortion. You could do it for a lot of other distortion techniques out there to make your shots pop and look more realistic or lifelike. I like this method because you control the chaos. Turbulence, density, lifespan, all are directable in Houdini, and it translates directly over here into Nuke. By the way, this technique does actually work in After Effects as well too. If you're interested in seeing an After Effects format of this tutorial, let me know and I'll actually put one together. If you want more FXTD shortcuts like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I try to drop a video like this at least once a week. For deeper dives, The Briefing is my weekly newsletter. That link is going to be below. And if you want to see where this technique started, the original After Effects version is live in the description as well too. And that's about it for this one, so I'll see you in the next one.